Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime.
Welcome everyone to Reckless Speculation. I think this is season 3, episode something in the 50s. We are glad to have everyone tuning in. It's the first post NFL show, so we have a lot of drama in college basketball, some on the court, some off the court. We have a Daytona breakdown, and then we also have some NFL coaching moves. Joining me as always is Tom Sloan up in Detroit.
What's going on, Robbie? It's a very icy Detroit, and I'm not talking about ice hockey, but very icy.
Yeah, what's the temperature up there?
It's 31. Temperatures will increase throughout the night, get to about 47 tomorrow. So all this mess will be gone, hopefully, by early morning. So, but it's nasty. It's really nasty tonight. Might lose power. So if you see me disappear, you'll know why.
Yep. And then in Franklin, Tennessee, we have Brandon Chain.
What's going on? Not icy here, but a little rain and pretty windy today.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And just north of me in Chattanooga is Raj Mehta.
Yeah, I'm originally from Southern California, but I guess the weather today, you could say, as I'm quoting Nate Oates, the Alabama basketball coach, wrong place, wrong time for me.
And we're going to get to that. It's about 83 or so today in Chattanooga.
It's actually really nice. I was just trying to make fun of Nate Oates.
I walked out of a deposition today, and first time in a while I've had a suit and tie on, and I was like, holy hell, is it summer already? But we digress. So Raj kind of led into it, and Raj, I'll start with you. Look, this situation at Alabama and their basketball program, and he's playing right now as we speak. To give everyone a quick rundown, these are the alleged facts. These are as we know them. This is what was presented at a bond hearing today for a Mr. Miles, who was the alleged shooter, which is obviously troubling. A young female was murdered. There's the legal side of this, and then there's the sports side of this. This isn't a legal show. You and I could possibly talk about the legal aspects of it later, and we will probably sprinkle in some legal aspects of this. But as a sports show, what was presented today was allegedly Brandon Miller, the 5-star consensus top 5 draft pick, leading scorer from the number 2 ranked Crimson Tide, delivered the gun to Mr. Miles, which was allegedly used to shoot the young lady. So with that being said, I guess what's Alabama doing right now? If you're the president, what are you thinking right now?
What's interesting, and I'm trying not to have this opinion that, okay, it's Alabama and they're known for valuing sports victories more than anything, including justice throughout the years. And it's hard when the chief deputy district attorney says we don't have enough to charge this kid on, which is fine. But like at this point, they just made it seem like it's done. tabled. No big deal. Nate Oates says, we're aware that the kid brought the gun and you had said delivered. When did Nate Oates become aware? What is the definition of delivered? This murder happened on January 15th, and Miller has played every game since. It's strategic lawyering by Miller's team, which they're basically saying that he didn't deliver it. He didn't give it to him. He brought Miles to the nudie bar, and he didn't know the gun was in the car. Miles then texted, hey, man, I need my gun. Some stuff's about to go down. And still, Miller claimed, or his attorneys claimed, that he had no idea what the gun could be possibly used for, that he was just a pawn, had no clue. Just, I guess, wrong place, wrong time. But yeah, so that's essentially it. You know, what role does he have? And people say accomplice or accessory before the fact. The bottom line is, just to break it down simply, Miller would have to known about the plan to kill or whatnot. Now we can go into negligence, and we're not going to get into that now. But yeah, that's essentially it. I think the biggest issue was, like, we didn't even know about Miller and any of this stuff until it was made public. And then Nate Oates was just like, ho hum, no big deal. You know, never mind this poor young girl dying. He's since backtracked off that, but that's basically where we stand. Like, we are finding out things every second, literally, and strategic lawyering is happening at the same time.
Yeah, and just to let the audience know, so these come in stages, right? So a bond hearing is a limited amount of testimony or a limited amount of theories of the case that the prosecution is going to say, hey, this is why a guy should stay in custody. There's going to be grand jury testimony that's going to come out that's going to have more facts. Then there's going to initially be an indictment. This is only going to get worse for Alabama. I can assure you of that. It's not going to get better.
And he was there. Like, they admitted that he was there, but then he took off shortly.
There were bullet holes in his car.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so.
And now they're coming clean about it, huh? I guess it's.
And so for Nate Oates to say he didn't know anything, like, your player's got bullet holes in his car the same night the person was murdered. Brandon, what are your thoughts about this? Just kind of overall how Nate Oates handled it, and what do you think about how Alabama's handled this?
Poorly on both aspects. I think if it wasn't a five-star player, they would automatically be suspended until further notice or investigation, yada, yada, yada. We haven't seen something of this magnitude involving a murder, but we've seen, criminal charges and people involved in other aspects of sports, basketball, football, and usually the teams are fairly quick to suspend until further notice. It's kind of sad that it's happened this way, and there's not further action taken, or there can't be some kind of charge brought up against him for some type of accomplice, or delivering a weapon, or something of that nature. So pretty poorly, if you look at it. And I don't know, like you said, I think it's only going to get worse, and Bama better buckle up.
Yeah, and so the civil lawsuits. This is what I do: is I sue people for negligence civilly. It's coming, and it's coming hard for Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Miller, and maybe for the university and all these in play. Raj, you were once an attorney. You still are an attorney. You and I talked about this earlier. I said if I'm him, if I'm his agent, if I'm him, I don't sign that pro contract until this is over. What do you think, Raj? So for those who are not watching the Weather Channel, our production headquarters is currently in Detroit, and there's a huge ice storm, so we are dealing with power outages or not. Brandon, I'll put that question to you, not as necessarily an attorney, but as a business owner who is very aware of civil litigation and of liabilities. What would you do if you were in his shoes?
Yeah, I mean, I would have immediately suspended the kid, and it's going to look bad on them and the whole university, and they could be involved in civil suits and tied into that. So I would have shown that, hey, look, we didn't know, we just found out, and we're doing everything we can in our power to assist in any way, and keep him from seeing the basketball court. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I think Rogers.
I can't believe he's playing tonight. After all this, and a team, they're playing South Carolina, who they're favored by 16 and a half over. Probably can win without him. I just don't get it. This is just arrogance at its highest level. And I was telling you before we got on stage, I was trying to research Alabama law. I haven't been able to. Kind of amazed there's been no charges at all. I don't know if that's by statute or if that's by convenience. I'll leave it at that. While we're waiting on some technical difficulties up from our storm ridden part of the country, let's move on from tragedy to some triumph to some drama. Talk about the Daytona 500, Brandon. Well, one, how long did it keep you in entertainment, and what did you think of it? I know as a NASCAR viewer, because of the show, what did you think?
So I'm kind of old school on these big races. Typically, you watch about the first 15, 20 laps, and then I tune back in for about the last 50 laps.
Yeah,
that's usually these long races. I don't have the attention span sometimes. So yeah, that's about what I watched, and it was entertaining. It was Daytona. The last 50 laps did not disappoint. I get they tried to finish under a green, white checker 3 times, but cautions breed cautions, and that's exactly what we saw. And unfortunately, they didn't get to actually make it to the line. But it was a wild ride.
What did you think about this? This was kind of the first year they've done this where it'll end in that caution. I for one, as a NASCAR fan, I did not know that was the new rule, and to make my wife be somewhat interested in watching it for 4 hours, I bet some money on a driver for her. Her driver was in it, and then it ended. I personally, I know there's getting it finished within a time frame. I know there's all kinds of time constraints.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't like it. It didn't feel right to me.
I agree. I was surprised. I had to research it a little bit and be like, what really happened here? And yeah, apparently that's a new rule. I haven't seen that obviously in the past, but it was still entertaining. It just, you hate to see it in like that, because another, 2 turns and it could have been a completely different leader. So,
Yeah. Well, and I heard on NASCAR radio, they were talking about when the button was actually pushed versus when the yellow light came up at Daytona. There was different winners versus. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of and we'll see how it plays out. Because look, Daytona super speedway, it's its own animal. There's going to be wrecks like that at the finish. That doesn't happen necessarily at every race, and so it'll be interesting to see how that progresses and how that goes. So for people who care, the ratings were down 8% from last year. Now the question is, I don't know this. Did golf pull some ratings? Or did the XFL factor in at all? Did you catch any of that?
I did not watch the XFL. Golf finished up a little before the end of the race, so that I'm sure that pulled a few. But like me, I tuned back in. I would think some of the NASCAR fans would, but I don't know if XFL had any pull over that, but it could be. I mean,
yeah. Well, you have your built-in ESPN just market, right? So if you're at a sports bar and people aren't paying attention, ESPN is a de facto channel. I know
Sure.
at the kind of party we were having, we had some people flipping over to Memphis versus Houston, but we're somewhat in the Memphis market, and so there was some college basketball fans coming over here. I'll be interested to see how it goes. They're in California next week, and then we'll see how these ratings continue to go. So
yeah,
I
I think everybody's back now. So if you want to try and go to someone else with a question,
you're back with no sound. No sound. So while you're waiting on some sound, Tom, I'm going to be asking you a question while you hop on. Some
better.
Yeah. So we talked about ratings being down. We're now going to ratings being up, as always. The NFL always makes the biggest noise, the biggest splash in the pool. Some coaching moves, right? So Eric Bieniemy goes to Kansas City, or goes from Kansas City to Washington. So goes from the goose with the golden egg to the perfect offense, the perfect situation, bets on himself, goes to a franchise that, to say dysfunctional, would be calling me Brad Pitt. It's just not good. So he bets on himself. He goes there. What do you think of the move? And I mean, we know why he did it. What do you think of it?
Well, I think this is a move, like you said. He's taking a bet on himself, because let's face it, he wasn't calling the shots in Kansas City, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why he hasn't been able to get a head coaching position in the NFL. I think for the most part, people thought that he was calling plays and he was kind of the ringleader of that offense, but it wasn't. Andy Reid was calling the shots, so I think this gives him an opportunity to grab a hold of an offense and make it his own and kind of prove himself. And this way, if he is successful, obviously they're going to have to go in there and find a quarterback, because who they've got on staff now just isn't going to cut it. And it's not going to work in the system that he's going to bring in. So he's going to have to bring in a quarterback, whether that means free agency or trading up to get one of the big names coming out this year. Remains to be seen, but that definitely is something you're going to look for them to do in order for him to gain success. So until they do that, they really have a kind of a lackluster offense, and I don't see a lot of success with him going over there. But again, this is an opportunity for him to kind of put his nails into an offense and see what he can come up with. But the past 3-4 years learning from Andy Reid should bode well for him, giving him the skill set to build a team. But they need the pieces, and they just don't have it right now, in my opinion.
So this led me to think a couple of things. One is, did Andy Reid want him to go? And what I mean by that is, look, you have wide receivers coaches, quarterback coaches, offensive line coaches. You have these people that want promotions. And if you're Andy Reid, and if it is me calling the plays, then do I want them to go, or want him to go, so I can promote people that are working this hard? So that's thought number one. Thought number two is, did he have talks with KC's ownership and just say, you're not going to be the successor to Andy Reid? Because to me, it's one of those two reasons. Like either Andy wanted him to go or he's not going to get that head job. Because let's say Andy coaches for 5 more years, you still have Mahomes for another 5 if you're the coach in waiting per se. Brandon, I'll get you on, or Raj. Are you here, Raj? Or are you off? Raj, yeah. So if you want to comment on that, basically the question is, my theory is either Andy wanted him gone, or KC powers that be told him he's not taking over. What do you think about that?
It seems like Andy has legitimately wanted for him to succeed. And I think Andy also, he's just such a presence that I think he's also fully admitted that it's not all Andy, nor is it all Bieniemy, nor is it really anyone on his staff. It's a collaboration. Unfortunately, there are other factors at play that we really don't need to go down. But I think Bieniemy really wanted to have that, put up or shut up job that, if he can be successful with that team, with the Washington Commanders or whatever they're called, then, that's going to be, I guess, a stepping stone for him. But he hit the glass ceiling, for lack of a better expression, in Kansas City. So I get it. Did I think he'd go there? Probably not. But, if he succeeds there, then I think NFL owners will be throwing money at him.
Well, we know the elephant in the room. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I bet he's interviewed for at least 16 of these jobs.
And what about college? I mean, he was a great running back in Colorado who didn't even give him, from what I understand, a glimmer of a shot before hiring Dion.
Yeah, and so if you've interviewed for 16, there's only 32. 10 aren't open at all. This seems to be
what he had to do, right?
Of what happens in the NFL.
Yeah, that he had to make a drastic sacrifice and change. Mm-hmm. Whereas elephant in the room, if you were of a different ethnicity, then perhaps he would not have to do so. That he's really got to lay it all out in the line, throw all the cards out on the table.
Yeah, and so we have a question. Wonder if there's a character issue with him. KC is not the meanest media market, but it's not the quietest either. If there was a character issue, look, you have Andy
a lot
Reid,
of strong personalities on that offense as well, and they look as efficient and harmonious as I've ever seen.
And Andy Reid's sons have went through their issues, and they've been in the press. It's not, like I said, it's not the hardest media market, but it's not one to ignore what's going on if there was some character flaw. And I think I think enough sports people follow the NFL that could have broken the story. Brandon, I'm gonna go to you. The other rumor is Rex Ryan leaving ESPN and heading to spearhead the Sean Payton-led Broncos defense, which it's going to be a blitzing system, a man-to-man system in said division of Mahomes, of Justin Herbert, of the Raiders, whoever they're going to come out with. What do you think this looks like?
It is very interesting. He's been out of the game for a little while. Mm-hmm. He was great when he was in it. I mean, especially defense. His defensive mind was phenomenal. I'm anxious to see how he can adapt. I think he will do fine, especially under Sean Payton. They've got pretty good head start on the game, but trying to stop Mahomes, I'm sure he's got some things up his sleeve. He's not sure standard defensive coordinator. I mean, he definitely has a lot of heavy blitz packages, and they're going to get pressure on Mahomes and those quarterbacks.
My first thought was this reminds me of those Saints teams with Greg Williams.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to
Exactly.
blitz obviously you can't hurt the quarterback intentionally anymore, but that's what it reminded me of. That's the mentality
for sure.
that Sean Payton wants is, get after him and give me the ball back.
Yeah. No, I agree. And just, how he adapts to that. And if he needs to adapt to that, to what, being out of the game for so long. So it's going to be anxious to see.
Yeah. And at the top of that division, obviously Mahomes is up there. The Chargers are still the Chargers, though. They can be had. They are a mediocre franchise with talent, but you don't trust them.
Yeah.
And now the Raiders, once they draft Will Levis, they're in the dumpster for the foreseeable future.
Chargers, they can't stay healthy on the offensive side of the ball. Offensive line is meh. And, Herbert's great. He just can't get his receivers to stay healthy, and offensive line is just.
So, Tom, you're no longer on screen, right? You're off.
No, I'm back.
Oh, you're back. All right. What do you think? What do you think about? I'm glad you're safe. The good news is no meat will go bad in that kind of weather. Just put it outside.
Yeah, right.
Hey, what do you think about Rex Ryan possibly teaming up with Sean Payton in Denver?
I don't know. I know Raj put in the little chat that the secondary is perfect for him. It's a shakeup, and if you're looking for somebody to go in there and really kind of keep guys accountable, that might be your guy. He's got coaching experience, but the latter years of his coaching career, he hasn't had the best success. So I'm interested that Sean Payton decided to go down that route. Feel like he probably had some better connections defensively to go in there. But, this might be, like I said before, a way to go in there and shake things up. Somebody that's been a head coach, somebody that can go in there and just, help them out, maybe an assistant head coach that can just, shake things up a little bit. Because let's face it, that team has been a complete disappointment, starting with what was the head coach and the quarterback. So maybe new face, new attitude, but I'm not sure if he's the right guy. I feel like you could have gone after a younger candidate, but who knows? We'll see if that works. And for him to leave ESPN, that's a cush job, and they make a lot of money. So it sounds like he was offered a nice penny to leave ESPN studios in the pregame to join the Broncos.
What intrigues me about this kind of relationship is, so Denver's obviously forking over a ton of money for coaching staff. Well, if Denver's offense struggles again and the defense is good under Ryan, how do him and Peyton work together? Because that can be a huge headbutting match. Both people making a lot of money and both very proud, and both have been successful head coaches. Raj, what do you think about that?
I'm sorry, you were saying, I was researching something, Peyton and Rex Ryan, so to speak.
Let's say Denver's offense again struggles, and then Denver's defense under Ryan is really great. That's two dominant personalities. And does Ryan start blaming Peyton for not getting the offense ready? And is that a coaching locker room kind of fiasco setting up to fail?
I think the odds of that are slim. Like I've said before, I think this is a smart move. Like, he's what many call a 3-4 DC, but really it's a lot of 3-3-5. Denver's got a great secondary: Young, Surtain, Darby, Simmons, and why can't I think of the other corner's name? They spent Kareem Jackson, the other safety. They have drafted 2 5th-round picks at corner, and I think 1 4th round at safety. So when you're talking about the 5, it's just a perfect alignment for him. Also, as Sean Payton, like I said, dude, this is all about, in this world, especially in the NFL, Tiger hands a tampon to a guy and it gets caught on TV, magnified by 1,000,000 times. Like, you can't even have a joke anymore that is inside. So my point being is the spotlight is always on you. And if I'm a head coach coming back and I established, a legacy with another team, I'd love to get a guy like Rex Ryan on my side. Like, just kind of like point over there, like put the spotlight on Dumbo over there. It's his fault. He's the loud, obnoxious one, not me. On top of that, like I said, he is a great DC, but I think there are more positives than negatives in this hire.
That's a good take. All right, so let's switch to the topic that we all love to talk about, which is money. So Daniel Jones is the next, or one of the next quarterbacks up for free agency, or up for not free agency, up for their contract renewal. He wants $45 million a year to stay in New York. Shane, you know all about money. What do you think about those terms and conditions if you are the Giants?
Well, I don't think the Giants are paying Danny Dimes $45 million a year. That's doubtful to happen. They've got a couple options here. So obviously they could tag him, franchise tag him, and that would immediately take a $32 or $33.4 million hit off their cap space. They don't have much room here. They're only looking, I guess, estimated about 44 to 46 million on their cap space right now. So taking a big hit like that off the cap immediately, I don't foresee that happening. I think, they're going to try and get a deal done. Now, they do have another option with the transition tag. It's a little cheaper on them, and they have the right of first refusal. So he can shop, he can talk to other people and see what he can get on the market. He is a top 15 guy in the league, though. Last year, I think Pro Football Focus had him ranked at number 12 QB, and which, just over last year. And they have, Dak Prescott was number 18. Tannehill's actually number 15 for the information. But they've got to get a deal done here, or they're going to have to move on from him. I know he's trying to get, Dak money and all this stuff, but he just hasn't proven enough. Now, he did have a really good year this year, but over a long period of time, if they can get a deal done, that gives them options to back in the contract, signing bonuses, open up a little bit more cap space. They just have a lot more wiggle room if they do it that way.
So you and I live through the same fandom, for better or worse. I guess my question just comes down to this is, can you win a Super Bowl with the guy? And if not, why would you ever consider paying him? Because I feel like that's what the Titans did with Tannehill. I'm not one of those that trashes Tannehill. Look, he's a decent quarterback. Anytime you're one of the top 20 in the world at what you do, you are a great, great person professionally. Like that's an incredible talent. But if you're not good enough to win the Super Bowl, why would you pay someone not just reset and try to start all over again?
Because this is a business ultimately, and you got to pack the seats, and you got to give your fans hope that there is a chance. And on the other take, like, who else are you going to get? Trey Lance, Derek Carr. What are we looking at here? Josh Dobbs. I mean, there's not a whole lot on the market that you can get and not have to pay for. I mean, there's inflation and all this guaranteed money now. I don't think we'll ever see in the next couple years, at least, what Deshaun Watson got guaranteed. But I mean,
every owner is like, no, do not do that.
Yeah.
Raj said that's loser talk. I'm going to bring Raj on and let him comment on this. So, Raj, why is it loser talk?
Oh no, your Tannehill rationalization. How you guys, number one, think he's a top 15 quarterback in the league. Numbers are not. Number two, you're like, yeah, any time in the world, there's X amount of players that, sure, I agree, but that's loser talk. Like Derek Carr is one of the top 32 best quarterbacks in the world. But when it comes to the realm of the,
like, just personally, that's something to be proud of, not franchise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't pay any of them personally, Jones included. I mean, you and I have said this many times. The Haslams really screwed it up for the rest of the world, paying Deshaun Watson. I mean, and you're talking about someone with zero leverage and just giving him money. Like, it's just ridiculous. And that's what Jones's, camp is going to fight. It makes
the Bobby Bonilla contract look smart, where the Mets are still paying him
$1 million every year. Yeah, absolutely. And, in the grand scheme of things, the Mets have their $1 million cap hit, if you will, versus what, the Browns have. And Kyler Murray as well. There are 8 quarterbacks at present that have an average annual value of $40 million per year. That does not include Burrow, Herbert, and Lamar Jackson, who are sure to reach that. The question is, what do you do with Daniel Jones? If you give him a 1-year, low 30s, mid 30s deal to prove his point, I think he'd be happy. But the good thing about a long-term deal is it's more cap friendly. You can defer the money and structure it how you want. The backup this year technically was Tyrod Taylor, who is serviceable, but who gets hurt every time he's the starter. So, unfortunately, it's just where the market is. Is he worth – I mean, would you rather have Daniel Jones or Kyler Murray at this point?
I think I'd take Kyler Murray, but at the price tag that I could get Daniel Jones, I think I could get him for, I'd take him. But this brings the big question is – it's the guaranteed money, and this is where the Haslams have screwed everything up because, hey, you can say, 3 years ago, you say, hey, yeah, Daniel Jones, we'll give you $45 million for the next 5 years. No biggie, but none of it's guaranteed. And so when you start sucking, you're gone. And that's when the Haslams came out. Sounds like something that the Lions owners would do. Tom, what is your opinion on this? On how does it work?
Well, let's go back a second here. That's what the former regime would have done. We're on a whole. This is brand new Lions, baby, brand new Lions. I think it's a situation here where he's going to end up in New York because he's going to test the waters. And I don't think there's any other teams out there that are willing to spend that much for him. He had a nice second half of the season, and in the playoff run, he looked really good. And I think he got something going with Brian Daboll, and I think that's a situation where it would be best for him to stay in New York. But they've got a little problem because I think it's going to be either he stays and Saquon leaves or vice versa because the money situation isn't good. And Saquon wants top running back money. Christian McCaffrey has that crown right now at 16 per. I think the Giants were offering somewhere in the range between 12 and 14. So they're not going to have enough money to get them both. So,
let's talk about that. You brought it up. So Saquon was 14. Saquon was 16. Giants would have paid him 14. With Jones being out there, what is this team, this huge market team? What do they do? How do you make everyone happy?
Well, and I agree with Brandon in our little chat here. It's easy to replace a running back. You got Tony Pollard in Dallas. That's going to be a free agent that you could go after. But in New York, you need a quarterback. I think you live and die with the quarterback, and you have to have somebody to market. And in that city, in that market, you need a quarterback. Running back just isn't going to do it. So it's kind of the lesser of two evils. Daniel Jones is a little bit younger. I think they came in fairly close to one another, but he's more durable. Saquon had a great year, but he's got injury problems. So obviously they're going to be really hesitant to pay the money. And then you look at they've got a receiver that used to play in Detroit that they signed big bucks to. So they're going to have to find a way to maybe move his deal to free up some money, which I don't know if there's a team that would want him because he really didn't do a whole lot. So I think Daniel Jones has probably got the leverage here, being that New York probably needs him a little bit more than he needs New York. So I see a situation where there's a franchise or even the transition tag, like Brandon said. That's a great point that he made. Give them that tag and see, what some of the offers are, because I don't think they're going to be even remotely close to $45 million.
No, well, and you look at this, what happened in the Super Bowl. I mean, a backup Chiefs running back and then an Eagles running back didn't do much. Like, they're just not that valuable. And then also, look, the NFC is winnable. You have the Eagles, maybe the Cowboys, and then the Packers, depending on what happens with Rodgers. But I think you need a quarterback first. You have to have a quarterback to play. Brandon, I'm going to bring you on to talk about the Juan Woods getting rid of the Titans, moving away from them, and what kind of signal that shows for the Titans, and what do you think the next year or so looks like for the Titans?
Oof, don't ask me that now. No, so we all knew Lawan was gone. I mean, he hadn't been healthy in 3 years, and he's played maybe
he knew he was gone too.
Yeah, maybe a total of 15 games. He likes busting with the boys a little better than football, it appears. So
yeah,
I don't know if he even sees the field again, to be honest. And if he does, it's probably a 1-year deal, and it may be 8 to 10 million. He's not getting that much money. Yeah, so they got rid of Woods too, which he didn't really do as much as we thought. It's probably nice to have his veteran presence in the locker room, but other than that, I mean, he wasn't quite what we saw coming out of LA during his time there. And they did release Zach Cunningham too, which
and Fat Randy.
Randy Bullock, yeah, got him gone too. So they're, no pun intended, they're cutting the fat here. They really are. They're trying to open up some cap space to try and make some moves here in the draft. And we'll see what happens come draft day. We got a new GM, and I'm excited about him. His player development he's got a proven record, and I'm just anxious to see what he can do in this draft and how he maneuvers through it. But I'm very excited as a Titans fan to see change happening.
Do you think this is the last year we have for the Henry window?
That's a good question. And it's probably, I would have to say yes. And I don't even think there's a big window there. I mean, it's very small. And again, like we just said, I love Henry, and don't get me wrong, I wish he could be a Titan forever, but it's easier to replace a running back. I mean, we've got to get a quarterback, and we need about 4/5 of our offensive line replaced right now. And that's a huge focus. I see us probably stuck with Tannehill one more year, and them going after an offensive line.
Yeah, well, the playoffs this year and the Super Bowl have showed us that just the whole keep away from Mahomes philosophy is not enough. You have to have firepower to shoot back, and the Titans just don't have it. And granted, you and I are talking about a team that choked and missed the playoffs, talking about winning a Super Bowl, but it was 2 years ago that we were in the AFC Championship game, so
Sure.
it's still on our mind, and we still hope for it. And then, all right, so let's move from the NFL to a little bit. Well, actually, I want to talk to Raj about college basketball because USC finds themselves squarely on the bubble. A good team, a good coach, just not a lot of good, solid opportunities to win in that conference. Raj, where are you feeling right now? I don't know about you. I remember those bubble days. I was checking bracketology every day. How you feeling right now? What are you thinking?
In the pack, because it's regionally logical, we play Thursday, Saturday. So you play the Arizona schools, one of them Thursday, the other Saturday, which is also why when the conference is gone, no idea what's going to happen. But the week before, got swept by the Oregon schools, and I didn't check a website at all. This past week, swept Cal and Stanford scared me. They're a big team, and SC has those California bigs. We've got versatile 7-footers, but two guys were out, and during that time, they lost games they should not have lost. Long story short, it's suddenly, they're in most brackets, but I went from feeling like they're going to win and end up just like Tennessee, right? Like you guys lose. Josiah Jordan James to me is replaceable, but Julian Phillips does a lot for Tennessee. When they're both out, you go from like a 2 seed or a 1 seed to a 5 or 6 seed, probably. And with SC, when they're healthy, you're looking at like a 7 or a 6 seed at tops. And right now you're 11 or 12, a play-in seed. So they just got those guys back. So to answer your question in a roundabout legal way, I'm just happy they're back, because if they didn't play it, and they didn't even tell us that they were playing against Stanford, and I reached out to some people that I thought I knew in the program, some people way wealthier than anybody. I was about to say myself, come on. But they ended up playing, and they were trying to be ninja about it. So this week they go to Colorado and to Utah, which I don't care who you are. Anytime you're on the road in conference, it's going to be tough. Yep. So we'll see what they do. They end up with Arizona and Arizona State at home. So really it comes down to you have to beat Arizona. If you beat Arizona, you need maybe one game in the conference tourney. Right now they're number 3 in the conference. First 4 teams get a bye. They don't have 38 teams like the SEC. But at this point, you need quad 1 wins. And like you said, there's not a lot of opportunities in the pack. So in that sense, like, I feel good about the team because I know there's a ton of talent, but are there the opportunities? I don't know.
Well, yeah, and I want to just it was many moons ago, what it seems like, but in the Bahamas, the USC team played full strength. USC played.
They weren't full strength. They didn't have their 5-star center.
Yeah, well, played a full strength. Well, we didn't have Josiah Jordan James. Essentially, one 5-star for each gone. They played 2 overtime, a great game. So that USC team has talent, and if they get in, they can be dangerous.
That's our best victory. That moral victory loss. It wouldn't have mattered. Vince Iwuchukwu is a 5-star center that he had a cardiac issue during the summer. So my point being is he was a freshman, and against a veteran team like Tennessee, it wouldn't have mattered. But like I said, that's when I first saw that Julian Phillips was the real deal. USC is very smart. Andy Enfield, Alfred E. Newman, nerdy guy, super hot wife who's a bikini model, so he's smart and a good talker. He switches up D's all the time, and he played a pretty smart zone against Tennessee, and you need a zone breaker. And Julian Phillips was young, and he would just typical zone break, center, free throw line, middle of the key, and he made them think twice, which is what you want to do with a zone breaker. Yeah. You've got to hit a couple of those. You've got to show the ability to see movement, to watch your guys, to dish, to keep the defense honest. And Phillips did that. So when we went to double OT with Tennessee, I was like, damn. Like, that loss did not bother me at all. It was not a missed opportunity.
No, well, and I talk about this a lot about basketball fans, how they differentiate college with NBA. NBA fans, yeah, your team loses and you move on. College basketball fans act like it's the college football and you lose and it's over. Look, there's ebbs and flows, and that's how it goes. So we're running short on time. We got 8 minutes left. Brandon, bringing you on, and Tom, come on too. Bigger story this weekend in golf. Jon Rahm winning again, and his hot streak that he's on, or Tiger finishing. Brandon, we'll go to you first.
Obviously, in the golf world, I think people are more hyped about Tiger making the cut and everything. But as a big golf fan and an avid player myself, the streak that Jon Rahm is on is incredible. He has won 5 out of his last 9 starts.
Yeah, he's
only finished. His worst finish is number 8, like top 8. Like it's unbelievable right now. It was incredible to watch him, pull through again. But again, on the flip side, watching Tiger make the cut, he's got the ball speed there. I think he averaged like 180 mile an hour ball speed. He was hitting it past Rory and JT, in their matches. He can hit the shots. He obviously, you saw the rust on the field shots, the putting, the short game wasn't typically what we see out of Tiger, but he had some great stretches there. The end of his first round, he went 3 birdies in a row, and then he did really well in the second round. I think he shot third round, 67. So, I mean, he's got it there. It's just putting it all together. But unfortunately, we won't get to see a whole lot of Tiger in the near future. I mean, he's only going to play a handful of tournaments.
All right, Tom, short with you. What do you think is more impressive, Jon Rahm or Tiger?
Yeah, I agree with Brandon to do it. What he's been able to do. He won, start to finish in this last weekend, and he was dominating. I mean, I don't think there was a moment in that tournament where you didn't think he was going to win. But you have to be intrigued by the fact that Tiger looks like he had a lot of fun out there, and he was really joking around with the guys. And say what you want, that little prank he pulled, I know people got all up in arms, and I think that's ridiculous. That's a side of Tiger I don't think any of us have seen, as far as him just like letting loose. And you could see throughout the tournament, he was giving, Justin that look and giving him that smile, and he was cracking up. But he finished. And I don't think a lot of people thought he would finish, and he was really streaky. When he was good, he was really good. And then he had a really rough shot. It was a par 3, I want to say, in the 4th round, where he ended up in the sand, and it was a pretty bad situation for him. But needless to say, he finished, and he had good moments. So I was hoping that would lead into more tournaments, but he's going to pick and choose where he plays, and when he does play, it'll be huge for the PGA because he's a ratings machine, and I'm sure people tuned in for that tournament because he was playing in it. So,
all right,
really was
All right.
the big one.
All right, sorry to cut you off. We got the world famous Bet Your Nuts coming up.
It's time for Bet Your Nuts, brought to you by RiverCity-Media.
All right. Thank you for that introduction. We will go with Raj first. I'm sure we'll have some West Coast action for us. Raj, what do you got this week for how you can make people rich?
I'm probably not. I usually make people rich by doing the opposite of what I say. And this is a double anomaly in the sense that I never tell people to bet on USC. I got a buddy of mine, young white kid that I met at the NCAA tournament in Indianapolis. All the games were the same. Okie State kid, friends with Mike Boynton. So got to go to a lot of the games. Anyways, kid's also a bookie, so he's a hustler. And he was asking me about USC against Colorado. And I was like, they match up super well, especially.
Be aware of our time limit here.
My bad. So long story short, take USC plus 2.5. He had told me minus 2.5, and I was surprised. But with KJ Simpson and Tristan De La Silva of Colorado, smaller but bigger, like 2s and 4s, SC can guard those guys, and SC's finally healthy. So USC plus 2.5.
There we go. Fight on, Trojans. Brandon, what do you think?
I'm going to keep rolling with golf here this weekend. It's not a very big name field this week at the Honda Classic, but Shane Lowry's just coming off a top 14 finish at the Genesis. So he's playing some good golf right now. I've got him at plus 190 to finish in the top 10.
All right. I like it. Short and sweet. Tom, what do you like to make the people rich and famous?
Well, I'm going to go in the world of NASCAR because I seem to really enjoy that. I'm really pushing it. So I'm going to go. We're in California this weekend.
Yes,
and the last 10 races that have been in California, Kyle Busch has won 3 of them. He's going to be fired up. He came in real close, almost pulled it off, if not for getting caught up in one of those overtime crashes. Per FanDuel, he's plus 950 to win. I'm going Kyle Busch to win California.
I can't believe I let you talk before me. That was my Bet Your Nuts pick also. I am going Kyle Busch also. Yes, he's great on that track. He is it a new team? He's ready to win. Kyle Busch for me too. Love that bet. All right, boys, we have about a minute and 20 seconds left. We'll do your final words. Tom, you're on the screen. What are your final words? Hopefully you can you survive next week and you'll be with us.
Yes, we haven't had any more outages today, and I do apologize for that earlier in the show. Real quick, I just want to final words. My mom had a little mishap this week. She's been in a rehab center, fell and broke her leg, broke her femur bone, which set her rehab back a little bit.
Does she watch us?
My dad and my sister do, so it'll get back to her.
We hope all's well for the Sloan family.
Yes, thank you. She had surgery yesterday. Doctor said she now has a bionic leg as she put a titanium rod and bolts in it. So, and her quick wit was back tonight. She was looking forward to having a shot of Crown Royal, and she doesn't even drink. So I want to wish my mom well and her recovery. I love you, and can't wait to see you. Hopefully you'll be out there next week to give you a big hug. All
right, Brandon, go to you.
I'll keep it short and sweet. We're running out of time. Bama, do better. Come on.
Well said. Raj?
Dang, man. The more I read about this and the rationalizations of Brandon Miller's attorneys and the program, come on, man. Just come on. Done.
Yeah. I didn't start this segment thinking that's where I wanted to go, but it's hard to go anywhere else besides that. Like, look, I get it. I've had to write letters defending the indefensible before, and it's hard, but it's very lackluster. And Alabama as a university, as a higher ed, you need to do better. And if the coaches, the athletic department can't do better, if the president and or chancellor can't do better, the board of directors, somebody has to come up and be an adult in the room and say, look, these are allegations and I'm fine. And everyone has due process. But you have to send some message that this isn't okay. A young mother died as a result of a gunshot wound. And there's been no story or anything that has said what they alleged happened hasn't happened. They just said that's just not a crime in Alabama. And that may be true, but what's not a crime doesn't necessarily mean what's not right. And that's the society we have to work on. Is just because it's not illegal does not mean it's not right and or not wrong or whatever the words are. But Alabama, you're on the national stage right now, and there's been one bad apple doesn't necessarily follow the others, but there's been car wrecks, there's been murders, there's been another murder, allegedly, all these things. But come on, do better. And that's my final thought. And that's not me as a Tennessee fan of hating Alabama. I don't hate Alabama. I respect the hell out of their football program. I respected past tense Nate Oates as a basketball coach. As a person, as a leader, I have serious questions moving forward. And now he can change those by doing the right thing, but he better. And they better because the world's watching.
Well said.
Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, like, email us, make comments, anything you want to see more or less. We're open for feedback. It's Reckless Speculation. We will be I did a bad job of not plugging the March Madness thing earlier. We were doing a March Madness Selection Sunday special, which will be awesome. We're looking forward to it. One of my favorite days of the year. We'll see where our underachieving Vols go. If Raj's team makes the bubble, and then the Big Ten floppers, just we'll see you guys in the NIT.
Yeah.
And also, real quick, River City Media has a new show. It's the Clyer Kyberson show, former Tennessee Volunteer, as a podcast, and he's joined River City Media. He's got a pretty good following, so be sure to check that out on River City Media for future shows and some of his past shows. So a new addition to the River City family. We're looking forward to being a part of that, and exciting times coming up.
We will be back Thursday.
Yes.
We're going to have some special insights that we can't tell you now, but we will expand on next week.
Yes, for sure. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to River City Media's own Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, searching Reckless Speculation. And catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation.